Well, hello everyone. This is your host, Too Clever Mafia, and welcome once again to the Too Clever Mafia podcast. Hello everyone. How's everyone doing today, all my Mafians out there? I'd like to say hi as always to my wonderful producer AJ over in the sound booth and that lovely intro he provides me with every single week. We have a great show for you today. Just simply put, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be fantastic. We have tallied all your votes over on from Twitter, from YouTube, Discord. A lot came in through Discord. We've tallied them all up, and we have compiled a list of the top movies. But we had to break them into two segments because we got so many votes. We got 10 times on one movie, 15 times on another. So we're breaking it into our top 40, if you will. Well, we can't, what's that, AJ? Well, top 40 might not be a good way to pronounce. Well, I guess there was another radio show back in the day that had a top 40. So we're going to call it Too Clever Mafia's Top 40 Plus. But we broke it down basically, and we're gonna go over, because this is gonna be a lot. It's a lot of movies. We are so happy about the response that we've gotten, but it's so many movies. Probably that we're going to go through the 80s first. We're going to list all our 80s movies. And then after that, we're going to give you, starting from the 90s forward, we're going to give you our top 5 that were submitted to us, that we compiled, we agree with. Mostly comedies, mostly action, couple of love stories, couple of teen movies from the 80s and stuff. But for the most part, we're going to keep it a surprise on what the top 5 movies and top 5 TV shows are. But we have such a great show. And then we're going to, AJ, I don't know if you know this, but I will let you know later on in the show what a passion pit is. AJ asked me the other day, I mentioned to him, and I said, hey, they're opening up another passion pit. And AJ, he is perked up. And but it's probably not what he thinks it is. But anyway, we're going to talk about that a little later on in the show. Found some old ad copy for some regional stores. I think they were regional, but we're going to go over some of that stuff a little bit later. But we have a wonderful show for you today, folks. Stick around. Listen to, we're not going to give you a whole bunch of jibber jabber here in the morning. We're just going to have to use that multiple times today, because it does involve one of our top television shows. So if you know where the term jibber jabber came from, you're probably going to hear me use it a few times today. That's really, really a tip, I guess, AJ, right? You're going to say it's a secret tip to our top list. So stay tuned. We're going to get right into this puppy. We're going to really dive right in. And don't forget to check us out on www.tooclevermafia.com. Sign up for all our social medias on like and subscribe and YouTube, and you can join us, like I said, on social medias on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those. And definitely send us some stuff. You can email us even at tooclevermafia@gmail.com. We will be right back. I am so excited. AJ, can you hear the excitement? What do you mean you can't hear the excitement? The excitement is in my voice, AJ. It's in my voice. I'm not moving around a lot. I'm not jumping jacks, but I think we have a wonderful show today, and we are going to get right into it. So without any further ado, you will have to play some outro music, AJ, and we will get right on into it. Yeah. We'll be right back, my Mafians. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. Oh, okay, everyone. Hello again. It's your host, Clever Mafia. Welcome back to the Too Clever Mafia podcast. And me and AJ have gone through the list. So many great movies came out of the 1980s. I mean, every decade had so many great movies, right? But we had so many different movies, and we wanted to try to get as many as we can in. We're going to see what you think. We're going to go over the movies, so everybody who submitted one, we can get their votes in. And we got, how many do we get, AJ? A couple of hundred? Yeah, we got a couple of hundred different, and just about as many different movies. A couple of duplicates, but not too many. So we're going to do our best. I'm going to try to keep this as orderly as possible. Okay, AJ, but we're going to try to keep it by a year. We're going to start a little earlier. And so the oldest, we're going to start with the 1980s, and then maybe we'll take a break and then go into the rest of the decades, because the majority of our movies seem to have come from the 80s that were submitted, right? And I think it's kind of fair to say that movies back then in the 1980s, especially the earlier part of the 1980s, they were always, they came out in the movie theater, you went to go see them, and they were blockbuster hits and whatnot, and they ended up on television, on local channels, and then they just played over and over and over and over again. So they were almost kind of crammed into your memory as a top movie, whether you liked it or not. So we definitely wanted to take that into consideration, right? So without any further ado, here comes the list. Is everyone ready? Oh, and also there's no particular order here, by the way. These are all just good movies on their own right, and we're not going to rank them. It would, one of those websites that do all the ranking, you could check that out, but we're not going to rank them. We're just we're gonna kind of run them down here. So the top, okay, we're gonna say, I don't want to say top ranking one. So all right, so we're just gonna go down the list. So we got the first one I have here on the list is Terminator. 1984, we all know the series that the Terminator has created. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is a terrific actor, won some awards, I would imagine. AJ, I don't know, I'm not really too familiar, but I know he's been in a lot of movies. I remember Conan the Barbarian, something like that. But all of the Terminator franchises, they were all his. I don't know if Kindergarten Cop, which came later, was a big hit or not, but definitely Terminator franchise was one of his top, right? Then you had Footloose with, was that Kevin Bacon, right? Footloose, that was 84. You got another franchise here with the Gremlins. Gremlins was a great movie, cute movie, scary if you were a kid watching it. Not sure if that was considered a Christmas movie or not. I don't know, we have to look up that, but it was 1984. And then another franchise, Ghostbusters, came out strong, 1984. These movies, they seem like they were not that old, but wow, these movies they've got some age to them now, right? I mean, yeah, they're what, 35 years old. Whoa, some of these movies are really, really up there. Yeah, so the Ghostbusters, they've developed everything, cartoons, toys, spin-offs, everything. So I think there's going to be another Ghostbusters soon actually coming out. But then you got Goonies in 85. They came out. You had Breakfast Club, very popular. Another movie that you saw every single week along with Goonies. Every other time you turned on the television on the local channels back in the 80s, it was those two movies were always, you could find them. You can find them, especially on the weekends, right? AJ probably doesn't know, but I remember this when if there was nothing on, or if it was in between sports seasons, then you would definitely you'd be able to catch one of those on TV. Breakfast Club, I've seen. I think I saw that last month or the month before, and it's a classic. It's a classic movie. And you got to Back to the Future. That's another one in the 80s that was developed quite the following. Has had a bunch of sequels. Stand By Me. Do you remember Stand By Me? That was in the 86. It was a little bit later, but Stand By Me was one of those ones, if you were a kid growing up, you could relate back then. There was no internet. There was no phone, cell phones. There wasn't any of that stuff, and you could relate just going out and, picking up sticks and that whole Stand By Me story. You got Beetlejuice, which was a little earlier. That was in the, I think there was 82. Beetlejuice was Michael Keaton. Yeah, that the Batman later became Batman, and was that the 80s? I'm not even sure when he became Batman, but there's just so many movies here. But Beetlejuice was there. Dirty Dancing, that was the late 80s, 87. Mrs. Mafia loves her Dirty Dancing every time that's still on. I think she was watching that the other night, actually. Where was I? Well, I don't know. I was passing through, probably getting some water or something, and I think she had the Dirty Dancing on. Who knows? And you had Howard the Duck. Remember Howard? That was another local, just like Dirty Dancing, on the TV all the time. Every time we turned around, it was on. One of the cuter movies I liked was Short Circuit. That was in 86. That developed a couple of sequels. the robot. Yeah, the robot went around, and Johnny Number 5. That was classic. Trading Places, that was in 83 with Eddie Murphy, and I believe it was Dan Aykroyd as well. Another classic movie. Really enjoyed that one. If you want to go all the way back to the beginning of the 1980s, that was when they had some of the horror movies came out. Some of the really... Friday the 13th started in 1980. That was developed quite a few sequels for that as well, right? Scary horror movie. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop was 84. That was another Eddie Murphy classic. Also a few sequels. I think they had 3 of them, possibly. I don't know, I think there was 4, not that I remember, but very... I enjoyed those movies. I remember when Eddie Murphy and the cops were sitting outside his hotel, and the Eddie Murphy goes and puts the banana in the tailpipe. Still remember the classic scene. Eddie Murphy... I think around that time, I don't know if that was the 90s because it's not on any of my list, but it's possible. You know how crack our research team is, but they remember 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. One of my favorites. I really enjoyed those movies back then. They were always on the TV as well. Then you had The Color Purple, 1985, another great movie. Aliens, their saga started, and there's that series in 1986. This jumps back again. Raging Bull, 1980. Raging Bull. That was one of those movies. I don't think I ever saw that. I think I recently seen it for the first time. That and the other one with Taxi Driver. Is that it? I think that's it. The other one with Robert De Niro. Yeah. But Raging Bull, 1980, very popular. Fast Times at Ridgemont High was another one. 82. That was another classic movie that was always on your local television all the time. Later on, you had I got Bill and Ted here and Their Excellent Adventure. That was in 89. It was a little bit later with Keanu Reeves and the other guy. I think there might be another Bill and Ted coming out soon. Some of the war movies in the mid 80s. You had Platoon, which was 86. That was a messy movie. Yeah, that was AJ. I don't know if you've seen that. You might not want to watch that one. That might be too rated too bad for you, but that was a bad one, along with Full Metal Jacket. That was a classic one. Love the drill sergeant in that one. Another one that I don't know if AJ's parents would let him watch. Who knows? We'll see. I know you. I know you're older, AJ, but I don't know. It might be too harsh for your sensitive, personality. I'm just kidding. And you had another series here, Raiders of the Lost Ark started in 81. Indiana Jones and his whole franchise with Harrison Ford, right? And then you got this was one that was always on, Can't Buy Me Love. I remember it was 87. It was about a nerdy kid that paid the popular girl to go on a date and pretend he was a girlfriend or whatever, and then not paying attention that she ends up liking him, and he was oblivious to it, which kind of is the whole point in the beginning where he was, trying to mow lawns to make money. I remember that movie. Then you had, after that came along, another horror movie in 84, Nightmare on Elm Street. That was a scary one that started off a couple of franchises. Here's Weird Science. Remember that movie? That was always on TV also. As a kid, they were always crazy movies. That was a crazy one to watch. And then The Die Hard, which we're going to do our top movies later on today. Die Hard was definitely has become a classic. There's so many of them, but I'll give you a hint. One of those are on our top Clever's top 5 list. And but Die Hard, that was 1988 with Bruce Willis. You got Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio. Started in 84. Another classic with him and Mr. Miyagi. I think every kid back then wanted to be Karate Kid. Yeah. Then you had, what's this one here? Oh, Caddyshack with Bill Murray. That was hilarious. With the little, I don't want to say chipmunk, groundhog beaver. What was it? I don't know. But that was a great movie. Very funny. The Outsiders, 1983. Also, that's an old one. And we're going to round off with my top 2 on this list. Coming to America, that was 1988, so it was a little bit later. Another Eddie Murphy movie. Very hard movie to get, by the way. I wanted to buy that on DVD, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Tried to rent it in the library, wasn't there. I think I was able to eventually get it on. It was on Netflix. I don't know where I ended up getting it. I think you know what? I think I ended up ordering. I think I got it as a gift, actually. I ended up ordering it. I had a gift card, and I ended up ordering it as a gift. I got the DVD of that classic, and then last but definitely not least was the National Lampoon's Vacation with Chevy Chase. Now that is a classic, 1983. If you're a family man or have had anything to do with a family, that movie just was great. It was good for a laugh, no matter what. And then there was other ones, obviously. There was a Christmas one, which was hilarious. And there's so many of them too, AJ. Yeah, there's so many of them out there, Muffins. I'm looking through a list here, and we got Driving Miss Daisy in 89. You have Top Gun in 86 with Tom Cruise. You've got Pretty in Pink back then. Remember Pretty in Pink? I think Mrs. Mafia happened to like that one. That was in 86. And you got some of the more scarier ones, like Poker Diced was in 82. There's just so many. You can go through, and there's so many good. The Heathers was 88. I'm just trying to see if I don't miss any of the special ones here, because there was St. Elmo's Fire. That was in 85. Risky Business, another Tom Cruise. He was hot in the 80s, and he was hot as an actor. I'm sure some of the ladies found him irresistible, but he was hot as an actor. AJ. That was 83. So some of them else here, I think we hit most of the ones that I recall anyway. Remember a lot of times, just Saturday, Sunday afternoon, just sitting on the couch, nothing to do, watching these. And what about Star? Star Wars. The first one was in the 70s, right? Late 70s. But the Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, now that was 1980. So, yeah, I guess you could put the Star Wars one right in there. And then on the other end of the spectrum, do you remember when Harry Met Sally? You remember that one? That was a big one. That was 89. That was a lot later in the 80s. It was The Princess Bride. That was 87. It was Do the Right Thing. That was in 89 with Spike. That was a Spike Lee film. I believe that did that win an Academy Award? I don't know. I think it definitely had some nominations, but I'm not sure. And then there was The Shining also with Jack Nicholson. That was 1980. That was a scary flick. Well, how could we forget Ferris Bueller? There's another one, 1986. There's just so many movies here that were just 16 Candles. I know that is one of Miss Mafia's favorites, actually, and that was in 84. But and then you have E.T., which was 82. I mean, that movie just was incredible. Say Anything with John Cusack. Remember him? Yeah, well, that was 89. That was a little bit later, so you might remember that. And then Blade Runner with, I guess Harrison Ford, right? They redid it again, but that was 82. Blade Runner was another big one. So I think we've gone through a lot of different movies, and don't think we missed any of the ones that were given to us here to put on our list. But yeah, so some great movies. All I think I've seen every single one of these, though. Every single one of these I've seen multiple times. You know, there's one I haven't seen, and that's The Outsiders, actually. As I was going through this, I'm like, I haven't seen that one. So I think I'm going to have a movie to watch this evening. I'm going to watch this movie. I haven't seen it. Let you know if it's worth it someday. So we're going to take a little break, and we are going to be right back, and then we're going to get into our top list. But the 1980s kind of needed its own little segment here. So don't forget to follow us on all our social medias. Like and subscribe. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord. Definitely over on YouTube. And as always, you can listen to us on all of the major and some not-so-major podcast apps like Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Apple Podcasts. So we're going to take a brief moment here to catch my breath. And AJ, we're going to play me some outro music, and we will be right back after this short break. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining us once again. Thank you, AJ, for that lovely intro. I needed to wet my whistle, and AJ was nice enough to bring me a bottle of water after that last segment. That was a lot of jibber jabber, you know. That was a lot. Actually, you know what? That actually saying, if you know where it comes from, is in one of our television shows that we're going to speak about in a moment. Hold on, I'm going to get a drink here. That is some good H2O. That is some high quality water right there. Thank you, AJ. Welcome, Mafians. This is Clever Mafia, and you are once again listening to the Too Clever Mafia podcast. And this is going to be our next segment. If you just finished up listening to our top movies of the 80s that needed their own segment, AJ, right? We had so many, and we left out a bunch, but hopefully nobody out there, none of the actors are offended, because there were so many of them, and we just there were just so many. So what we've done here is between AJ and myself, we have taken the votes, and most of these movies. First of all, we're going to do the top movies, the top five. We're going to do the top five movies that we've received votes for, and the criteria was it has to be at least 1990 or forward. Because there's just too much of a span there. I mean, we've had some real classics, and then, which are some great movies, but we just kind of had to put the perimeters there, right? So we're going to start right into it here. So these are going to be the top five movies that AJ and myself and the Mafians who have voted have all approved as our top movies. Now, they might not be for everyone. Some of them are mostly action and comedy, really. I don't really see too many love stories on this list. No, not really. So put it in the action comedy. That's going to be the genre that we're going to work with, okay? So we're going to start from the oldest to the newest. And the oldest one that we have on our movie list is from 1993. Now, can anybody guess? AJ? Well, you know what the list is, but maybe one of the other writers in the other room. No? Well, they would probably, well, I don't know. Maybe they know. But okay, so 1993, we're going to go with a classic, Tombstone. Tombstone. Great gunslinger movie from the Wild Wild West. Val Kilmer, great performance in there. Kurt Russell. A lot of great actors in there, and Tombstone is definitely on our list. It's one of the oldest, and it is on our list. It was a great movie. Some historical, not historical facts, fiction. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was the OK Corral, Doc Holliday, some great fun movie. Just a fun movie all around. All right, so that's going to be that made our list. We had a lot of Mafian votes. That was one of our top voting movies, top voted movies that we received. Next one is we're gonna move right to 1994. Now, 1994, great year. Great year for Jim Carrey, and it would be Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. Now, didn't get my vote, but this is a great movie. It is actually very funny, kind of a silly, stupid movie, if you want to call it that. But just a great character. Great, it's great all around fun movie. Kind of, another movie that's just kind of lighthearted and one of those movies that you just got nothing else to do. check it out. Another good movie. So then we're going to move up to 1995. And this is going to be Bruce Willis and Die Hard with a Vengeance. So that was the third installment of the Die Hard franchise, and it was probably one of my favorite movies. I like the original as well, AJ. That was in our was that in our 80s movies? Yeah. But it was just a good movie. Samuel L. Jackson also in the movie, and the dynamic between Bruce Willis and him were very, very good, and just phenomenal. Great acting by both, and good action movie. Took place in New York City. Another great movie. So, moving right along. Now, this is going to be one of my favorite movies, and I know AJ not really. He likes it. I think he's coming around. But this is going to be from 2008, and this was Iron Man, right? Now, Iron Man. This is the first one, and what I like about this one is the Iron Man suit comes to life, and it's a very, the Iron Man suit is metallic, and you can see the gears in the suit, and it's a very, being a medium tech guy myself, I really enjoyed the whole premise of Iron Man and how he needs technology to survive, but he's a very smart man, but also, kind of a full of himself type of guy. Great movie by Robert Downey Jr. I think he's an incredible actor. I really do. He's one of my top actors of all time. But and then obviously after that, you have the Avengers franchise, which the first one was my favorite. That was 2012, but then there was one in 2015 and 2018. Wasn't really a fan of the Iron Man suit by the end of that in the 2018 final Avengers movie. And then they, spoiler alert, but they do take care of Iron Man, and wish he was still around, but I didn't really like the nanobot suit that he had. I kind of enjoyed the robotic, kind of more realistic thing. I guess nanobots may be realistic one day in the future, but not quite just yet. So those are our top 5 movies by your votes, and now we're going to switch over really quick to our top 5 TV shows by your votes. Surprisingly, a lot of these top 5 TV shows, we didn't put a year preference on it because we kind of got such a huge range. So we're going to start again from our oldest and go to the newest. And our oldest one, which I approved of, and I actually spoke about this in, I think it was my Tessie interview. I think someone picked up on it probably. But top 5 was from 1957. It had 6 seasons, and it was Leave It to Beaver with Wally and the crew. Just an old timey classic. Don't know if it's on TV anymore, but Leave It to Beaver. And I'll just leave that at that. Leave It to Beaver is what it is. If you don't know what it is, check it out. It's a classic. Then you have, I guess the oldest one after that would be 1982. We kind of jump up to, and that would be Knight Rider. Knight Rider, David Hasselhoff, the King of Germany. I think he's got a song, a CD. He's got a Get in My Car song or something like that. But Knight Rider was around for 4 seasons. I thought it was around for longer than that. I know it came back and forth, and there were different installments without David Hasselhoff afterwards, but different type of cars. But there's something about Knight Rider and the technology back in 1982. I don't know if that was a show I'd watch today. I kind of caught a bit of it on one of the old channels not too long ago, and it was good then, but I don't know about the quality and the technology and Michael Knight running around with his wristwatch. How crazy if that was on today. I'd be like, okay, well, he just can use Siri, and if he drove a car, some of these cars have auto parking now and all of that, and I don't know how you got your phone hooked into your car. I don't know how high tech Knight Rider would be these days, but there was also some other ones which aren't on the list, which it was a helicopter one and a motorcycle one, very similar premise. But I don't, was it Nighthawk? I think maybe it was Nighthawk. There's one that was a motorcycle and a helicopter. I don't remember. Anyway, moving on to 1983 was the A-Team with B.A. Baracus and No More Jibba Jabba, right? B.A. Baracus was a Mr. T, and you had Hannibal and Faceman, and I'm missing one, I think. Oh, Murdoch, right? They all had their specialties, and It was kind of like MacGyver, who MacGyver was on this list, but we took it off because MacGyver was kind of one of those things where it was just him. So we wanted kind of it was more of a dynamic with the A-Team. And, who wouldn't hire the A-Team back in the 80s if you needed them to, get you out of a jam or two? You're in a few jams. You ring up the A-Team, call them on the landline because there was no cell phones. I don't know if they had beepers even. Maybe they had beepers back then, but somehow you got in touch with the A-Team and, Hannibal showed up with a cigar and your problems were solved in less than a week. And you didn't need much either. It was kind of like MacGyver. You just needed some pipe and maybe a paperclip, and the A-Team could take care of it. And they needed some AKs and some other weapons because they were very weapon heavy, those shows. But anyway, moving on. We're going to keep things rolling here. We're going to go to 2001. And here was a show that was around for, I think, 9 seasons, which surprisingly, I didn't realize it was around that long because the show faded off for me. But the first, first half or two of the seasons was 24 with Jack Bauer, and Kiefer Sutherland, right? The great show, great actor, wonderful actor, and but not so great a country singer. I've heard some of his music. He's okay, but much better actor. I'd much rather see him in 24. And he was kind of like the MacGyver of the modern day, always getting involved with the president and somehow always ended up in the White House. And there was always something wrong with the president, which is why would you let the guy around the president all the time? I don't know. It's a fun storyline. Kind of kept you interested in that 24-hour time clock that kept ticking during the show. That was 2001. 9 seasons. That was a long, long, long time. And then we have I thought something newer would have been on the list, but this is from 2017. So this is the newest one that won out here, and I guess TV hasn't been that good since 2017. I don't know, but maybe our Mafians this is just what they watch. But only 2 seasons was the Punisher from 2017. It was with the guy from why can't I remember his name? It was the guy from The Walking Dead, right? He was one of those. I think he was a sheriff, right, on The Walking. If anybody actually watched the Walking Dead, he was like the sidekick for a couple of seasons on there, and Frank Castle definitely was a good. I don't know if he was a good guy. If you would say he was a good guy or not. Would you say he's a good guy, AJ? Do you think the Punisher? Well, I guess he broke the law. He was kind of a vigilante, but wasn't. I had this conversation with my grandson. As far as vigilantes go, the Batman was a vigilante. If you really want to think about it, right? Yeah, if you talk about it. Yeah. So. And I don't know. The Punisher was John Bernthal was he's a good actor for Netflix. He's a great actor. They're all good actors. I mean, there's no great ones. Maybe that I wouldn't say some of them it's just too hard to rate. But that part was very good. It was created for him, and I really wish he would have the 3rd or 4th, 5th season could have easily been accomplished. But I think there was something going on with Marvel. Because the Punisher's a Marvel person, and I don't really know, but it was just kind of a kick butt kind of show, kind of fun. And honorable mention here, surprisingly enough, it was only around for 3 seasons. 1964. Any guess? No, this Gilligan's Island. 3 seasons. With the skipper, with Marianne, the professor, the millionaire, and his wife, and Gilligan. Yeah. Well, now another show that wouldn't be around today because you would just use your cell phone or, I don't know, just ping somebody and find a way home. But I don't know how this island was never found, and no one ever. People went there and left, and then they left and came back, and they could figure out a whole slew of things on that island, but they couldn't figure out how to get off. They couldn't build a boat. They were surrounded by wood and materials that could have built you could have built almost a yacht in the time they were there, but that came back quite a bit. That show, they had a lot of reunions, and a lot of special guest stars ended up on those islands. They made, Bob Denver, right? John Denver, Bob Denver, and another another classic television show. So that's our list for now. There's just so much of this, and there's so many great shows out there, and I'm sure everybody has their own ones that they like and that they're special and they enjoy, but these are the ones that we've compiled here at the Too Clever Mafia podcast. And I kind of agree with a lot of them. I think some of them are some good movies. But what my favorite movie is I don't really have a favorite movie of all time. I think I kind of like a little bit here and there, and I kind of like actors and actresses. I follow them, their talent, because, I really feel the talent of, the actor can make the role no matter what. Like comedy wise, like you have Will Ferrell. You've got some great comedy folk, from the SNL alumni, some wonderful comedians, but they can really make, then you got those really good actors like Robert Downey Jr., who I enjoy, who really get into their role, and it just makes the whole movie experience better. So that's our list, and I hope everyone has enjoyed it, and hope some of your favorite shows or movies have ended up on it. And we are going to take a break, and we will be right back. This is the Too Clever Mafia podcast, and I am your host, Too Clever Mafia. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Too Clever Mafia podcast, and I am your host, as always, the Too Clever Mafia. I said the Too Clever Mafia. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of slipped out, but I kind of like it. What do you think, AJ? No? Just Too Clever Mafia? Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm not always too clever, but I'm still Clever Mafia. So hello, everyone. Hello to my Mafians out there. Hope everyone had a great day today listening to our movie episode. We have did our 1980s segment, which was fun, and so many movies. I could have done 4 hours on just that, just on the 1980s alone. And then we did our top movies, pretty much the 90s forward, in TV shows. And it was a fun day. Had some interesting movies and shows that were brought forward by our Mafians who listened to our show, and they voted and went to our Twitter and submitted a bunch of messages to us with all the different movies they like. So thank you for everybody that participated. If you'd like to sign up for our social medias, head over to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Discord and YouTube, and we're Too Clever Mafia, TOO Clever Mafia, on all those. If you'd like to support our show, we're over on Patreon as well. And I don't know what we're going to do next week, AJ. We haven't really thought about it, but I said in the break, I asked AJ. I said, AJ, have you seen my peepers? And he looked at me, and with like I had 3 heads, and I said, peepers, glasses. And AJ was like, well, I didn't know your glasses. And then he pointed. Of course, they were right on my head, but regardless of that, I realized that he didn't know some of the old words that I used, and I said, "What do you know? You know shades, right? You say shades of sunglasses." And did you know we used to call back in my day, we used to call a drive-in movie theater, we used to call it a passion pit. Did you know that? They're coming back, by the way, the drive-in movie theaters, with everything going on, and a couple of places are putting out putting up some new drive-in movie theaters. But yeah, we used to call them a passion pit. What about a knuckle sandwich, AJ? You ever hear of a knuckle sandwich? Well, you knew that. That was a punch in the face, basically. You got out of line, you got a knuckle sandwich back in my day. From anybody you come across, they say, hey, you knock it off or you're going to get a knuckle sandwich, and that would be it. What about, we used to go, back when I was a kid, I remember going to Detroit, and we used to call it a fat city. It was a fat city. Yeah, fat. Well, I guess that kind of PHAT came back, but a fat city was just basically a great city or a great place you like to go to, and also called my eyeglasses cheaters. That was another term, peepers and cheaters. But mostly cheaters were my eyeglasses, like my reading glasses. And peevish could have been more of a general term for everything else. And we used to say, hey, Bobby, you're going to get the chariot this weekend so we can head over to the Passion Pit. And you know what that is? Yeah, well, chariot car, right? We used to call it the car. And occasionally we used to go into New York City. And New York City traffic was always rough. And we used to call, hey, Bobby, you want to get the old chariot and head over to Annsville for the weekend? Friday night, want to head into Annsville. It used to mean like a congested place or someplace like that. And yeah, well, we had some different words back then that meant different things and mean different things now. And times always change, right? Times are always gonna swing around depending on what's going on in the world. Some crazy stuff is always going on in the world, one way or another. There's always stuff going on in the world. I was looking over, we have an old ad segment here, but some of these, I don't know how national they were, but there were some stores that used to be in business that are no longer in business. And I was like, well, I don't know if they're national chains. I really didn't look at them, but some of the old ad copy. But Bradley's, do you remember Bradley's? It's like a shopping store, kind of like a Sears almost, but not as good. I don't think they had the appliances and stuff. It was more like a Kmart, I guess, right? The older style Kmart. You remember Caldor? Caldor was kind of I don't know if that was a national chain, but that was around as well. Some of our old ad copy along with Kmart here. And then, but don't want to go into it too much because we have listeners from all over the world. We have listeners over in the UK. Thank you for listening. We have listeners in Australia, Brazil. We're just picking up listeners everywhere, obviously all across the United States. A lot of listeners over in California. We've got some up in Massachusetts and Connecticut, New York City, Texas, Florida. They're from all over the place. All over the place. We have listeners. Even we got some analytics saying we have some listeners over in Canada that really enjoy our stuff. So definitely drop us a line. You can email us too at tooclevermafia@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. We love to hear where you're from. We love, tell us a little bit about your town. We love to chat about it. If you got something interesting about your town, definitely send it over to us. We love to bring it up on the air and something unique about the place where you live. Love to hear about it. But that's, I believe that's our show for today, folks. I don't think, I think we had a great show. We went over a lot of different things that we enjoyed in the movie genre, in the motion picture business. Motion pictures, got those motion pictures. That's what we called them back in the day. I guess they still call them motion pictures. You know what it is anyway. Oh boy, AJ brought me that bottle of water, and I am stuffed to the gills right now with water. I'm overflowing with water right now. So gonna have to cut this short, AJ, so I can go take care of business, if you know what I mean. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Visit us over on www.tooclevermafia.com. Head over to Teespring, and we're Too Clever Mafia over there. All our merchandise. You get yourself a nice Too Clever Mafia t-shirt, mug. Fanny packs are coming soon. Definitely can listen to us on any of the podcast services. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy it. It helps us a lot, tremendously. And we will be back next week, next Friday. Don't know when you're listening to this, but we do publish our episodes. We try to publish our episodes every single Friday. And if there's anything you'd like us to bring up or talk about, we might do some live call-in. You can actually go over to Anchor, and you can leave a voicemail on our Anchor account if something you'd like us to bring up, and we can use your footage on the air, and we will definitely address your question if you'd like us to. So that's all we have for this week, my Mafians. Everybody have a safe and happy, healthy weekend and week, and we will talk to everyone next week. And that is all I have to say about that. Bye-bye for now.